Hello everybody, it's Jessica and I'm here with another book review. Now, my book review will be on the Hunger Games Trilogy by Suzanne Collins. And before I get started with this, I just want to say that my husband got me this nice little box with all the 3 books inside. They're all hardcover. And we got this at Barnes & Noble's. And I'm actually a little upset because this cost, I don't know if you can see it well, but it's $53.97. That's how much he paid for it at Barnes & Noble's. But I'm going to say, if you have a great BJ's where you live, BJ's Club, the food, then you can probably get this if they have like books there. Because like 2 weeks after we got this, I went to BJ's and it was literally $20 less. It was like 30, 32 bucks or something around that area. But it was a lot less than buying this at Barnes & Noble's. And I love Barnes & Noble's, but they are very expensive. So that's FYI for you. If not, probably, get it on eBay, or I believe the website is alibris.com. It might be used, but you can just figure it out. Anyways, this is going to be on the Hunger Games, and I'm not going to talk a lot about it because it's 3 books, so I'm not going to go through like all intricate details about it. What I am going to say is that love, liked, okay. So for me, it goes in order. And I'm going to talk about the Hunger Games first. Now, I have to admit that I am not one of those that read the book before the movie came out. I actually saw the movie first. And to me, I felt like I've sort of seen a movie like this before, but with older people, not kids, and not the way it's set in a dystopian society. So I figured that if there's a book out and I hear so much great things about it, I'd rather read the book, because everybody knows that the book is always better than the movie. Although they did really good in the movie. So, a little brief about the first book. It's set in a dystopian society. There's 12 districts. And each district has sort of something like 12 district. They do coals and mining, and then the other one is farming, and someone else is where the peacekeepers, where their guards are, and all that other stuff. But besides that, it's about a girl named Katniss Everdeen, and I believe she's 16, 17 years old. Her sister gets drawn to be in the Hunger Games, and what the Hunger Games is that all the districts, 1 through 12, a woman or a girl and a boy gets chosen to be in the Hunger Games. They go into an arena and they basically have to kill each other until there's a victor, until there's a last person standing, and then they get, I'm going to say benefits for their families, and they get a sort of a better life. So it's about a girl named Katniss, as I said. Her sister name is Primrose Everdeen, but they just call her Prim. And she gets chosen to be in the Hunger Games. And if you've seen the movie or if you read the books, you know that Katniss takes her spot. She volunteers as a tribute. So it's her and Peeta. Peeta is a baker's son. I believe he's well liked by people. He has friends, but he's still sort of in like just his own little world. And what happens is that they get teamed up and they have to go into the Hunger Games. And the Hunger Games, there can only be one victor. So throughout the Hunger Games, Katniss feels that Peeta is betraying her. He's not working with her. He's working with the other, ones, I believe, who trained to be good at the Hunger Games when they got chosen. So she feels like he's working with them, and A bunch of stuff happens, and then she finds out that, you know, he's really not. He's trying to help her. Before the Hunger Games, they got into an interview, and he basically said that he's always loved Katniss Everdeen. She feels that it's a game, but to Peeta, it's not. And throughout the book, as they get closer and stuff happens, the Hunger Games sort of changes. Someone comes over the speaker and they say there now can be 2 victors at the end of the Hunger Games. So Peeta and Katniss works together until they get to the end, and then everybody's dead, so it's just them 2. And now they want them to kill each other. So Katniss comes up with this great plan, and I'm sorry that I might be spoiling this a little bit, but this is what I liked about the book. So she just like sort of, I'm not going to spoil it too much, but she overthrows the Capitol and she makes them look stupid, and they get really pissed about it. And so her and Peeta are the winners of the Hunger Games. So that is the Hunger Games. I enjoyed this book a lot. This was my favorite book out of the trilogy. I actually loved everything about this book. It was a little different for me. I really never read a dystopian society sort of dystopian book before. So for this being my first one, I enjoyed it very much. Now, the second one is Catching Fire. And this one is basically, I want to say, almost the same as the first book. In the beginning, her and Peeta, they live in good houses, their family taken care of, they have food and all that good stuff. And then something happens where I believe something breaks out in District 8. And President Snow, which is the president of the Capitol, president, I believe, of Panem, that's where the Hunger Games take place at. He basically visits Katniss and tells her, look, you're going to have to make people believe that you're actually in love with Peeta, or I'm just going to make your life a living hell. So they have to go through all the districts, dressing up, fancy. They even set up a whole wedding, that they're going to get married, and they have to just make everything believable. And for Peeta, it's actually believable, but for Katniss, she's basically just playing it as a game so that everybody is safe, especially her family, because she absolutely loves her sister. And I wouldn't say she loved her mother as much, but she absolutely loves her sisters. So yeah, what happens in this one is that every 25 years in the Hunger Game, which is the 75th Hunger Game, so every 25 years is a quarter quail, and it's always random. So this is the 3rd quarter quail, and on this one, President Snow reads that in this quarter quail, all the victors that have won before in the Hunger Games are going to go back into the arena. So after being in the Hunger Games last year, Katniss and Peeta have to go back inside the Hunger Games. I know, that's like horrible. I was so pissed when I read that, but it made for a good read. They started making alliances with some of the other victors that were part of previous Hunger Games. There's one named Finnick. They said he's very handsome and sexy, but you could just tell he has a lot of problems. I think the other one is Beatty, and there's another one, Joanna. And they basically all work together. And towards the end, this big old explosion happens, and a hovercraft comes to get Katniss, and Peeta gets captured by the Capitol. When she gets into the hovercraft, she sees Gale. Now, I did not mention Gale in the first book because, to me, I don't know, and maybe it's just me, I don't feel like he's as important as a character until later along in the books. He is Katniss's best friend. He loves her. She loves him, but she doesn't know if she loves him like that. So he's in the hovercraft, a familiar face for her to see. She's very surprised to see him. And he basically tells her, hey, we're going to District 13, which District 13 is supposed to have been blown up to smithereens. There's nothing there. And there's supposed to be people living underground that nobody really knows of or cares of. And he tells her that District 12 is blown up. There's no more, so we're going to District 13. happy the way it ended. And then I got to the Mockingjay. Mockingjay is my least favorite book of the trilogy. And I will tell you why. The last 3 chapters, I just didn't care for. I didn't like. I got upset when I finished the book. I didn't like the way it ended. Really quick, Mockingjay, District 13 wants Katniss to be a Mockingjay. Mockingjay being symbolizing everybody to get together to rebel against the Capitol, to kill President Snow so that he can stop torturing people, he can stop the Hunger Games, he can stop all this stuff that he's been doing that hasn't been very good to society and to everybody that's pretty much been a part of everything. So this one, Katniss fights, not really. They tell her she will, but she doesn't really fight too much in this one until it gets towards the end. And as I said before, she absolutely loves her sister Prim. And I'm just skimming through this one really, really quick. I don't want to make the video too long. But, so it's her and Gale and a couple of other people that's part of this sergeant, part of this army, if you want to call it. And then her basic goal is to get Peeta out of the Capitol because they're torturing him, you know, they're hurting him, and she doesn't like that. So that's her main goal. She ends up fulfilling her goal, although she doesn't rescue him, but her partners do. And he comes back and he's just basically nuts. I mean, he doesn't know the girl anymore. He hates her. He wants to kill her. You figure out why. They tell you along the book why he wants to kill her and all this just bad stuff. And it sort of just threw me off because Peeta absolutely loves Katniss. He does, with all of his heart, all of his soul. You can just tell that he absolutely loves her. And in this one, he's filled with something. I'm not really going to say, but he basically wants to kill her. And then they go into the Capitol to go and try to get President Snow to kill him. Something happens and I'm sorry I'm going to ruin this, but one of her family members dies, either her mother or her sister, and she just turns into this, she's gone. She's just gone. And I actually got excited for a moment. She wants to kill President Snow because she feels that he killed one of her family members. But when she finally meets up with him, he tells her that they had an agreement to never lie. And he basically tells her that the person that she is working for has sent those bombs out to kill one of her family members. And she's supposed to kill President Snow at the end, and she ends up killing someone else. After that, they take her away, and they have to basically determine her future. And this is the part that I despise. They want her in isolation. They want her in District 12. Filled with nobody. Filled with nothing. Nobody's there. Only Haymitch, her mentor. Her alcoholic mentor. And she has to be just in the house. And she doesn't even care. She was a strong person. And all of a sudden, she just turns into this thing. You know, and I understand that. You know, because one of her family members died. But she's a freaking Mockingjay, for crying out loud. You know, and she just turns into, like, poop. And then all of a sudden, her and Peeta are, like, there, and she's still loony. And then there's the epilogue, whatever. And her and Peeta are together, and they have kids. And then what the hell happens to Gale? Gale is District 2. Her mother's District 4. Everybody's doing their own thing. And Peeta stays with her. And they're basically in this stupid little house doing absolutely nothing with nobody around in District 12. District 12 is nothing. And then later on, they're together and they have kids. I did not like it. I'm sorry. I'm being so verbal about it or so loud or whatever. But I did not like the last 3 chapters of this book. It ruined everything for me. But with that said, great books, great